Red Bread Redemption is a game that came out in 2010 for the PS3 and the Xbox 360 no scope, and is a game that seemed that it would be on those platforms for the rest of eternity. However, some big brain mother trucker decided that it was time to port this game to a much cooler and much better platform, and that platform being the Nintendo Switch. So in 2023, they finally ported it to the extremely popular Nintendo Switch, which made people very confused. However, in 2024, they finally came to their senses and decided to port it to an actual popular platform, that being the PC. And now, Red Bread Redemption is playable on the PC, despite the fact that you could complete this game with a PS3 emulator, and also the fact that it cost $50 on Steam. I don't know who should be arrested, me for paying this insane amount of money for a 14-year-old game, or the people that decided this price tag was adequate. But I'm not making this video to rant about the insane price of the PC port. I am here to talk about Red Dead Redemption and to ask a simple question: is Red Bread Redemption worth playing in the year 2024? And to answer that question, we have to start with the story. In the story, you play as John Marston, a man who was formerly part of the Van der Linde gang, which you already knew because you played Red Dead Redemption 2. Your boy John has the mission given to him by the government to bring the former members of the Van der Linde gang to justice, and by doing so will allow John to earn his freedom. Now, as you would expect from a game that is written by Rockstar, this game's story is absolutely amazing. It basically tells the story of what happens after Red Bread Redemption 2. The writing is top-notch, the dialogue is fantastic, and the characters are absolutely amazing. I feel like it is only in a Rockstar game where you can find a character that is a grave robber that is actually interesting, which is a perfect example of how good Rockstar is at writing characters. And then of course there is the main protagonist, John Marston, who is a man in his middle ages that has done some questionable things, and is by all means a unethical man, but yet has a heart of gold. And if this sounds familiar, that's because it absolutely is. The reason Rockstar can get away with writing protagonists with the same core concepts is because they have mastered the art of writing good characters, which is why I'm excited to see what they do with a female protagonist, who is most certainly going to be a protagonist that has done some questionable things and is by all means unethical, but deep down has a heart of gold. Now, the gameplay of Red Bread Redemption is pretty fun but very simplistic. This is very evident in its combat, as this game has a very basic third-person cover shooting combat system. Now, I have seen quite a lot of video essay channels saying that Rockstar's third-person cover shooting mechanics is in desperate need of some upgrades, and I am not entirely inclined to disagree, but I have to ask, how exactly are they going to improve on these mechanics? You see, this game's combat is very much meant to be kind of realistic, so it's not exactly that Rockstar can just give you a grapple hook and be done with it. I guess what I'm trying to say here is that I don't really see a clear way of how Rockstar can innovate on this very simplistic gameplay mechanics, but I still think that the gameplay is pretty darn decent. But you see, while I was smoking these meats, I came to the realization that everything in this game's combat is smooth and very well made. There is no clunkiness to it at all. Even though it is simplistic, the combat feels nice. And yes, the combat is very much carried by the absolute incredible attention to detail when it comes to the enemies, because the enemies in this game are very well made. The AI is smart, and it actually feels engaging and fun to fight these AI because they are well made. Ubisoft, please take note. And I guess this level of detail and level of consistency and lack of clunkiness is something I can say about the rest of the gameplay mechanics. Everything about this game's gameplay mechanics feels well made, which is very important, especially when you have as simple a gameplay system as Red Bread Redemption has. Now, I think the overall conclusion for the gameplay is that it is pretty simplistic, especially the combat mechanics. But just because it is simplistic doesn't mean it is bad. It is more than decent, but its attention to detail and the lack of clunkiness makes the gameplay feel pretty good. Now, the mission structure is pretty simplistic as well. You see, you go to your destination, watch a cutscene, do some gameplay, and watch another cutscene. Bada bing, bada boom, that is another mission in the bag. Now, I am well aware that there are a lot of people that think this mission structure is pretty simplistic and quite lazy as well, but I am going to say say something that might be a little controversial. I think this mission structure is pretty good for one key reason: the way Rockstar balances the cutscenes and the gameplay with this mission structure is perfect. You know, you are getting a little bit of gameplay and a little bit of cutscenes. Do I think that Rockstar can improve upon this mission structure? Absolutely yes, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the mission structure is bad. Now, one thing kind of related to the missions is the open world and how the open world of Red Bread is designed. And the open world of Red Bread is pretty unique, but you can say that about literally every Rockstar open world game, because Rockstar has a different approach to their open world games. You see, most open world games will throw a bunch of shit in the open world. These are called points of interest, and the game will attract your attention to these points of interest by making something about the points of interest stand out. Or if you're Ubisoft, you'll just throw a bunch of exclamation marks all over the map so that you know exactly where each and every one of these points of interest are, like a bunch of dumbasses. But enough about Ubisoft being absolutely shit. You see, how Rockstar approaches this is by not giving any points of interest at all, and instead giving you random events that act as points of interest. Now, this is pretty unique to Rockstar open world games, like I said, and the thing is, it's kind of awesome. I really like this approach, and I do think that a lot of these encounters in Red Dead Redemption is pretty awesome. I might even go as far as to say that it might be better than Red Dead Redemption 2's random encounters. And there are quite a lot of these random encounters that you can come across, ranging from a dude challenging you to see if you can shoot more birds than him, to some lady getting her car hijacked, to a bunch of other wild west and wacky shit. The thing about these random encounters is that it makes the world feel very random and unpredictable, which makes it feel in a way more realistic, and that is something I do like about a Rockstar game's open world design. Now, I will say that these random encounters spawning randomly somewhere close to you does kind of make the game feel like it's not worth exploring the open world, or at least that's how it feels in Red Dead Redemption. But I think they did a much better job in Red Dead Redemption 2, but I am not talking about Red Dead Redemption 2 today. That is a video for another time. So I think that the lack of incentive to really explore this open world is kind of the only slight negative I have towards this open world design, at least in Red Dead Redemption. Now, when it comes to how this game looks, I would say this game, for a game that came out in 2010, looks absolutely damn fantastic. I mean, just look at the sky. It is so beautiful. Rockstar is known for their attention to detail, and the visual presentation of this game is a perfect example of that. It really makes you feel like you're in the time of the West that is wild. Red Bread Redemption is pretty awesome. Is it worth the $50 price tag? Well, maybe. I guess what I can say is that you should absolutely buy this over something like Dragon Age the Veilguard, because let's be honest, you're going to have a much better time with this game than whatever the hell that shit is. I would have loved this game to be ported to the PC much sooner than it was, but I am glad it is on the PC, because this game is fantastic. It is a masterpiece, and even though I think Red Bread 2 is much better, I think this game is still an absolute must play. It is a great game that feels great to play, with a fantastic story and some excellent characters and an absolutely beautiful open world. So I guess to conclude this video, is this game worth your time? Is it worth playing in 2024? And the answer to that question is, well, yes, the answer is yes, of course it is. It's bloody fantastic. And well, that's about all I have to say about this bad boy. If you've made it this far in the video and you like what you saw, I'd please ask you to consider liking the video, and if you want to see more, please consider subscribing. It will help me understand whether or not people want to see more videos like this one. That is it for this video. I thank you very much for watching. Bye.
To the train, to the boat, to the pain. Where's Tahiti like Houdini? I can't find a single grain. These bad plans that you're breaking my heart. I should've known that there wasn't any money from the start. New day, same game. I could play